Time now for the Armour All Top 10 Shootout. Our first runner today is David Reynolds, car number 26 for Grove Racing and for Penrite NTI Townsville 500. This is going to determine our top 10 starting positions for our race coming up this afternoon. The variance from top to bottom in that previous qualifying session was very tight. It was only 0.37 of a second, so a little over a third of a second for 2,800 odd metres of racetrack. Pretty impressive, Mark Skaife, to have them so close.
And Alistair said, everything looks pretty good there, mate. Go and have some fun, champ. So that's the sports psychologist part of Alistair saying, go and enjoy it, throw it around, do your very best, and see what happens. David Reynolds is very good at these Trompo. He's had 60 appearances in shootouts.
Grabbing gears on the way and then jumping on the brakes down here for the right-hander at 11. Second gear, the approach speed, there's 210 kilometres an hour. And in the middle of the corner, it's down to 70 Ks. And then that left rear tyre punished out of turn 12 to the final corner. And he's got it on the rear brakes and he's actually skipped sideways, disconnected from the apex there. So that camera angle masked it somewhat, but the back of the car was locked up then and he slid into the corner. 15.5.
Done in that middle part of the racetrack, so he's got a little gain to be made. And remember, David made a pretty big mistake. There was no space to that fence, was there?
In fact, I reckon he went as close as you dare to actually rubbing it on the exit of turn 12 then, so it was bringing up a lot of cement dust right on the edge of the road. Final corner into the control line now for Scott Pye, and he's done a time slightly better than David Reynolds.
And that actually comes up as a 27.53 in the middle, so that's 0.5 of a second slower than Scott Pye, who made real gains in the middle of the circuit. So he's got his hands full, young Thomas Randall. But this is a great experience, Neil, for his first shootout.
Traction limited in second gear coming out of turn 11. Hits his marker nicely in the final corner there, and good traction out of turn number 13. Takes it up to the line, and it's going to be a 1 minute 15.6 recorded against Thomas Randall's name for the very first time in a shootout in his supercar career. Now we get to 7 and 8. What's it look like here? Hops nicely over both those, flies it out the other side. Second, third, ultimately fourth gear here. Winding up to 210 kilometres an hour. Sweeps it out across the concrete to the outside of the road.
Nice lap so far by Mostert. I love watching him throw the car around. He's so exuberant. He just grabs the thing by the scruff of the neck and uses every single millimetre of road. And this is another example. He just missed the apex a little bit. He ran it into the final corner there a little bit deep. Couldn't get it stopped and turned. But this is probably good enough, and it certainly is. Not just by a little bit, by a fair chunk.
14.6, well done. Obviously, remember what I talked to you about the end lap, so clean up that mess.
First segment was just slightly better than Mostert. So this is a good lap so far by James Courtney. We know he got impeded in qualifying and he's been able to respond. He's up 13 spots from yesterday, so they've made this car a lot better. What's the middle number? Not quite as good as Mostert, very close in terms of the cumulative number at the end of segment 2.
That car's got a little bit of rear brake locking going on there into turn 11, and you can see how it's skating around in the rear in second and third gear through turn 12. Back to second gear, final corner, aims it up, clips the apex. They're watching at Walkinshaw Andretti United, and on the bottom right-hand side of screen, Tickford keeping a close eye on the numbers. Tim Edwards in the background also on the radio, 14.6, so he's got there by 7/1000ths of a second. Runs it right out on the concrete apron on the turn-in to turn 8. Beautiful through here. This is where that car, in that section of the racetrack, through 9, 10, down here into 11, it was very strong in both qualifying and racing yesterday. And coming out of here, it was very strong as well. So now makes his way through 12. Car's nice and square, and he's up. The total time at the moment looks better than anybody else. No surprise given the form that we've seen so far this year from Shane Van Gisbergen, who's already got 4 Armour All poles to his credit. And he goes to the top on a 1 minute 14.3. He's peeled 1/3 of a second out. Gets back to just under 200 kilometres an hour right here. Throws it over the top of the curb at 7. Chucks it sideways over the top at 8. Waits for it to land. Gasses it up. Grabs third and fourth. Hops it across the bump, and it looks very stable through there. And the numbers, Mark, so far are better than anything we've seen. So he's showing a number better than anybody else.
This is a number that might even be in the 13s. So Van Gisbergen's gapped the field by 0.3. This might even gap Van Gisbergen by more than 0.3. Beautiful lap so far by Cam Waters. He's put those 2 fresh tyres on the back to good effect, and the number is a 13.86. It's 0.47 faster than Shane Van Gisbergen. Wow.
Awesome lap. He's already had so far this year 4 Armour All pole positions, and that's a big number to achieve now. Maybe hopping across the curbs here through turn 10, making a little brake bias adjustment in readiness for the braking approach here. It's a big one into turn 11. Gets it stopped, hits his markers down here. So LeBrock just a bit traction limited coming out the other side. You can see the wheel work going on there. Into the final corner, you can sense just how busy the lap at this location. Just recently turned 30 years of age. Happy birthday, Jack. What's the number look like? And it is a 1 minute 14.7 for provisional fifth.
Slide at turn 2, hurt us, high road speed, low engine RPM please, very low on fuel.
Been able to make very fast race cars for a couple of decades, but they'll be missing him this weekend. Oh, that was a little bit awkward for Anton coming out of the right-hander at turn 3. He might have just rubbed that wall.
Yeah, that definitely cost him time. This will come up when we get to that second sector, and it's also all but half the tyre was in the dirt on the way out of turn 6. That will have also cost him time.
Compared to the best time in Sector 1, he's 2/10 down on Cam Waters, Anton De Pasquale. Now we get a reference to the second timing intermediate. He's claimed a little bit of ground back in the mid-sector. By no means out of the game. A lot of steering lock down there at turn 11. He was really leaning on that front tyre through there. Car's very stable through 12. Now it's about getting it pulled up without locking a brake and hitting the marker here on the left side of the road and sneaking out the other side without too much wheel spin. Is this going to get him up into the top group of cars? To the control line for Anton, and he achieves a 1 minute 14.2. This is going to be very, very close if he keeps it up at the current rate.
And these cars are so good through turn 5 and 6. In fact, Davison and De Pasquale and those DJR Mustangs have been the fastest cars through the fast left and right. This middle sector will be really telling. What's the number? 26.82. It's only slightly slower than Waters. 49.04 cumulative. That's about 2/10 away, so he's still right in it. Can he get it stopped for the final corner?
Gee, it was good through 11 there. It was just dancing on that left rear tyre, and Courtney and Waters are watching together with Matty Roberts in the garage at Tickford. Out of the final corner, he's going to be right on the money. There was a little bit of wheel spin on the gear shift there from second to third. Is this going to be a big number? Not quite. So Cam Waters, an Armour All pole, and the only driver in the 13s today, and that is Armour All pole number 5 for 2022 for the boys inside this garage and Cam. So Waters the only driver in the 13s, and we speculated at the time, was that going to be enough? It's ended up being 1/3 of a second to Will Davison, who'll take a 1 position penalty, take him off the front row, put him on the second row of the grid.